Go.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Denny over at Four Paws at Fulshire, and Maddie and I are going to chat about everything you need to know about how we perform spays and neuters.
Dr. Denny, how are dog spay surgeries performed?
So they're very similar to humans. I would say, minus the fact that most of us don't use scopes. We usually do like a full abdominal opening. But we do remove the ovaries and the uterus, and then we check everything to make sure everything looks good, and then we close and recover them. As far as a neuter, they're under full general anesthesia, just like they would if they were spaying a dog, just if you were like a human having a full-on procedure. That way you don't feel any pain. And then we go ahead and remove the testicles. There's a few different ways of doing this. I like to personally do a pre-scrotal approach. I feel like the scrotal area, and I'm sorry, it's an awkward word, but the scrotal area is super sensitive. So the reason I like to go pre-scrotal is I feel like there's less irritation post-op, so I feel like the dogs are more comfortable.
Will the spay or neuter be painful for my dog?
So it's surgery, okay? So do we do everything we can to have pain control? Yes. Are we going to feel some discomfort? Yes, it's surgery. Okay, for every surgery I've had, and I am like the surgical queen. My body is a war zone. But for every surgery, when I wake up, am I sore? Yeah. Is the goal to not be excruciating? Yes. Do we do a lot of local pain anesthetics and a lot of intra, pre-op, and post-op pain medications and assessments? Absolutely. If anything, I think my staff probably think we go a little overboard on this, but for me, I don't think you can go overboard. I want my patients comfortable, and I want them to go home comfortable. You can't heal if you're hurting.
Are there any complications to a spay or neuter surgery?
So there's always complications that can happen in any surgery. I don't care how good you are. I don't care if you're a boarded surgeon. I don't care if you're a medical doctor, like a human MD. Everybody knows the complications can happen. I would say, bleeding is probably one of the most common that we see, which is very usually easily fixed. We just tie off whatever's bleeding. That's going to be like the most major complication. Sometimes on neuters, their little scrotal areas can get really upset, and there can be a lot of bruising. So that's something we see, bruising along the incision site, but that's not really a complication. It's very normal. If anything, I would say the more risk is associated with the anesthesia than the actual surgery. And even then, the risk of anesthesia is super low.
How long does a dog spay or neuter surgery take?
So it depends on the dog. Depends on if they're in heat or not. Depends on how big they are. For my big 100-pound in heat dog spays, I want to jump off a cliff. You want to know why? I'll tell you why. Everything bleeds way more because the vessels are the tissue is getting ready to get pregnant. Of course, there's going to be more blood supply, but that makes it a lot harder on me because there's a lot more bleeding. We have to be a lot more careful. The tissue is often more fragile, so you have to be really cautious. So the bigger the dog spay, the less fun it's going to be. I would say maybe anywhere from an hour and a half. Really bad cases, 2 hours. I don't think dog spay's taken me 2 hours since I graduated from vet school, but it is possible. Neuters going to be about the same. Maybe a little less time, maybe anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. Cat neuters are generally, I feel like we spend more time prepping them for surgery than the actual surgery takes. Like placing an IV catheter, making sure they have a breathing tube, making sure they're all hooked up to their monitoring, and then performing the surgery. A cat neuter can maybe only take 15-20 minutes or less. But I'm going to tell you, on the off chance that something happens, you're going to be really glad that I did all this work to make sure that your kitty cat makes it, because I've almost lost a few before, and the only reason we were able to get those back is because I had all this additional stuff already in place.
What are some misconceptions about the spay and neuter process?
Oh, I think some people will tell me that they're worried it's going to change their personality. I will say sometimes it calms them down. I've met one person in my years of veterinary medicine, and that's not just my 10 years out. My mom's a veterinarian. I've been in this my whole life. I think I've met one client that swears up and down that spaying her dog completely changed her personality. I'm not going to say that she's wrong. I'm not that dog's owner, or I don't see that dog at home. But for the most part, no. Like, I think that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions, is that it's going to change who the dog is. And it may calm them down. So like, if you have a chocolate lab a male, and he's driving you bonkers and he's not neutered, and we don't hunt with him, and we're not going to breed him, neutering, that can help take him down a notch or two. All right, guys, I hope this helped answer some questions you might have. If you do have additional questions, please give us a call and we'll set you up with an appointment.